Migrants have always been used in U.S. politics.
Our country is going to go to shit.
New videos showing
if
the moment a
we do
4-year-old
not
child
put
was
someone
dropped
back in
over a
as
border
President like
barrier
Trump.
in San Diego,
Comrade
California.
Kamala
You can see a child being pushed over the
Comrade
wall.
because she is a radical left Marxist. She wants open borders. She wants our country to be open to the world's criminals.
I've broken down the three major topics that everyone brings up when talking about American migrants. What crimes are they committing? Are they taking our jobs? And how do we house them? Often these people come from Latin American countries seeking asylum or for a better life. When they arrive here, there is nowhere for them to go. Republican states like Texas ship them off to New York, Chicago, and other liberal cities to take advantage of their programs, which are more accepting of them. Part of this is a tactical political move. They want to see these cities fail at properly being able to handle the sheer amount of people coming in and point out the problems that happen when you accept migrants into your cities. People living in these cities can see firsthand this is affecting their communities directly, no matter what their political views are. Americans want to see something to change with how we deal with migrants. Slow down the flow of incoming migrants and find solutions to what we do with them once they're here. Donald Trump makes a point of wanting to tighten up the borders. Still, when a bill was sent to Congress over this issue during Biden's presidency, he called multiple Republican congressmen and women to vote against the bill, in an attempt to make it look like he would be the only one to be able to tighten up the border. Kamala Harris has some pretty strict views on how she wants to handle dealing with the border. She even said at a rally in Arizona, "I went after the transnational gangs, the drug cartels, and human traffickers. I prosecuted them in case after case and won." But many Republicans believe she won't be as tough on the border as Trump. Trump has said that migrants are poisoning the blood of this country, and every day Kamala is letting migrant criminals roam free to assault, rape, mutilate, and kill our citizens. Fox News and other right-wing news sources like to focus on migrants raping and killing American citizens, but in reality there are 4 news stories in the past 3 years that these sites focus on and act like they're not the only cases when migrants have a much lower crime rate than American citizens. And now let's brush over what 4 stories they keep talking about. What I'm going to say is what these articles claim is fact, and while I believe most of the information is true, I have to say on the Fox News website when I would click the links that appear to have sources, they would lead back to the website. Daniel Hernandez Martinez, 30, a reputed member of the ultra-violent Tren de Aragua, was first encountered by the U.S. Border Patrol in January 2023 in Texas. He was then deported back to Mexico, but then came back over the border again. He was arrested and released 8 times for alleged crimes that include attacks on 2 police officers and 3 strangers before ICE took him into custody. He was slated for deportation in June of this year, but the Post reported that his native Venezuela is not accepting flights and that Martinez will remain in America indefinitely. The next story talks about the killing of a 12-year-old girl in Texas, Jocelyn Uruguay. Joan Jose Rangel Martinez, 21, and Franklin Jose Peña Ramos are accused of luring her under a bridge, tying her up, and killing her before throwing her body into a river. I looked for more details on this story, and all the articles talk about illegal immigrants and how to secure the border. I hate to say it, but it feels like they're not worried about the person murdered, but the policies they want to promote in this girl's case. Next on our list is Rachel Morin, a 37-year-old mother of 5 who was killed while hiking on a scenic trail in Maryland last August. An unauthorized 23-year-old immigrant from El Salvador was arrested in the killing, according to police. Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez is wanted in El Salvador for murder. According to the reports, he fled to the U.S. Authorities believe Hernandez was hiding adjacent to the trail where Rachel was walking and attacked and killed Morin before fleeing Maryland. Lastly is the killing of Lakeland Riley. The body of Miss Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University, was found in the wooded area at the campus of the University of Georgia in Athens on February 22nd. Jose Antonio Ibarra lived about 1 mile from the wooded trail where the body of Miss Riley was found, according to Jeffrey Clark, the chief of the university police. After the authorities revealed the next day that they had Mr. Ibarra with the murder of Miss Riley. Mr. Ibarra migrated from Venezuela, the authorities said. He was arrested by the Border Patrol for entering the United States illegally in September 2022 and was released quickly with temporary permission to stay in the country, according to the federal officials. These 4 stories are tragic, but what we should focus on is who committed the crimes, mourning the victims and blaming the individuals, not the group. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that 3.3 million immigrants entered last year and will add another 3.3 million in 2024. 1/3 to half of last year's wave of immigrants came through legal channels, with work visas or green cards, but a jump in unauthorized immigrants entering the country has added to the numbers. Some economists fret that the immigrants will compete against American workers for jobs, particularly those with jobs earning under $25,000 a year, which could become more pressing concern in a weaker employment market. However, recent economic research has suggested that immigrants mostly compete with one another for work. Speaking on some of the positives, immigration could help with reducing the federal deficit by boosting growth and increasing the working age tax base. The Biden administration has used its executive authority to open a backdoor to allow thousands of migrants into the United States temporarily, while also taking steps to repair the legal refugee program. But as Democratic leaders have joined Republicans in criticizing President Biden over migration, in recent months, he has embraced a more conservative tone, even pledging to shut down the border. Anyone who tells you that immigration doesn't have any negative effects doesn't understand how it really works. When the supply of workers goes up, the price that firms have to pay to hire workers goes down. It is American workers earning under $25,000 a year, including many blacks and Hispanics, who have suffered the most from this wage dip. The typical high school dropout earns about $25,000 a year annually. According to census data, immigrants admitted in the past 2 decades lacking a high school diploma have increased the size of the low-income workforce by roughly 25%. Immigration redistributes wealth from those who compete with immigrants to those who use immigrants. The additional profits are so large that the economic pie going to all natives actually grow. The net increase in the total wealth of the American population gains about $50 billion a year annually. But behind the calculation is a much larger shift from one group of Americans to another. Total wealth redistribution from native losers to native winners is enormous, roughly $500 billion a year. Immigrants too gain substantially. Their total earnings far exceed what their income would have been had they not migrated. Immigrants receive government assistance at higher rates than natives. The higher cost of all the services provided to immigrants and the lower taxes they pay because they have lower earnings inevitably implies that on a year-to-year basis, immigration creates a fiscal hole of at least $50 billion, a burden that falls on the native population. The left has to acknowledge that our current immigration policy has indeed left some Americans behind, and Trump and his supporters will have to acknowledge that a well-designed immigration plan can be beneficial. Chicago, New York, Denver, and other liberal cities have been overwhelmed this year by migrants sent northward from border states, a surge that has strained social services, hurting locals' patients, and putting municipal claims of sanctuary to the test. Are the challenges facing cities as busloads of newcomers keep arriving? Chicago has been overwhelmed in recent months by thousands of migrants arriving from border states, sometimes by Republican officials who have taken glee in putting sanctuary city and welcoming state pledges to the test. After more than 81,200 asylum seekers have entered New York City's intake system since spring 2022, Adams has housed migrants in various locations, including taxpayer-funded hotel rooms, a former NYPD training facility, and the Brooklyn's cruise terminal. The emerging clusters of unsheltered migrants may be an indicator that two of the city's most annoying challenges, a 2-year influx of migrants, and the long-standing issue of street homelessness, are becoming intertwined. Some say they prefer to sleep outside because they were assigned to far-flung shelters, like a warehouse at Kennedy International Airport, that are miles away from their jobs, they have found, because the conditions some migrants describe as unsafe, unruly, and unsanitary. Though far removed from residential neighborhoods, the Randall Island shelter has become a flashpoint. The police raided the shelter recently to search for contraband after a string of violent incidents, but the search turned up nothing and led to no arrests. The situation at Randall Island is also a visceral reminder of the billions of dollars that cities and states are spending to shelter migrants, making some residents angry who see it as a wasteful spending of taxpayer money. Biden's administration implemented a new program that could give legal status to hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants who are married to U.S. citizens. The program, which imposed tough new restrictions on asylum, was seen as a way to counter critics who said asylum restrictions were too harsh. The program aims to facilitate the legalization of undocumented spouses of Americans who have been living in the United States for more than a decade. People who cross the southern border illegally, rather than arriving with a visa, are required to return to their home countries to complete the process for a green card. The new program allows them to skip that step, which can keep them apart from their loved ones for months or longer and remain in the United States while they pursue legal status. Republicans filed a suit against the program, feeling that Biden was going around Congress. The lawsuit was filed by the states of Texas and Idaho, along with 14 state attorneys general from Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, North Dakota, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Wyoming. In a statement, Angelo Fernandez Hernandez, a White House spokesman, said that the Republican elected officials continue to demonstrate that they are more focused on playing politics than helping American families or fixing our broken immigration system. So are migrants taking our jobs? No, not really. America is built on migrants. We all were migrants at one time. Our families came over here looking for better opportunity, and that is continuing to this day. Blocking them from entering our country could actually hurt our economy. Migrants will forever be a political tool used to promote poorly veiled racism. I'll end this video with a quote. America doesn't need to be made great again, because it's already great. But if you wanted to destroy that greatness, the two most important things you would do would be reject its commitment to freedom and to close its doors from people seeking a better life.